Sorry for that crazy noise, y'all. Thanks for being here. Let's shut this down a little bit. I know it's late on a Sunday night. Most of you guys are watching NFL. You guys know I don't watch NFL. So I decided to get a jump on the week and get into it early. So I've been under the weather, but I'm here. And I'm going to be talking to you guys about the transfer portal, the wide receivers, and the tight ends. Now, I'm combining the two position groups just so we can get it done, because tight ends by themselves is a pretty scarce group. There's not too many tight ends in the portal. But I want to caution everybody. Last year, the transfer portal tried to tell you, the recruiting websites tried to tell you the best wide receivers in the portal were anybody going to Georgia. I can remember vividly, Thomas, Dominic Lovett. These are the two best receivers in the portal. We got the top two receivers, Rico. No, you didn't. And I remember telling everybody to their face, no, Jamari Thrash is going to Louisville, and he's one of the best receivers in the country. And please stop ignoring this, right? And I can remember talking about Dorian Singer. Now, Dorian Singer had a little disappointing season with USC, but Jamari Thrash was definitely one of the best. Right now, people are spamming me left and right about Ole Miss. And I got to tell you guys, their transfer portal class is not special. It's not remarkable. It's nothing better than what they did last year. It's very similar. They're going out and they're signing free agents. They're signing mercenaries. They're signing individual players that they never developed, that don't understand their culture, and don't know how to win. You're signing a bunch of losers. I'm letting you know now. You're signing a bunch of guys from losing teams who don't have any concept of what it's like to win. And you want to somehow get them to win in the postseason. Because next year, there's going to be a playoff, and everybody's going to be in. And it's unfortunate that people spam me and go, oh, my God, what about this guy? What about this guy? And it's like, where were you last year? Or where were you all season when we were talking about these individual players? So please, just kind of slow down a little bit. Remember this. The recruiting websites, they miss worse than any mock draft. They miss worse than any other service in the world, and all they do is keep it moving. So you never sit down and really dwell on it. You never sit down and assess it and go, wait, hold up. You said this guy was top 5, and he's not top 500. This 5-star kid is worthless. Why do they get to miss every single day and no one says a thing? Right? I say C.J. Stroud's the third best quarterback in the draft. I hear about it every day. Are you kidding me? These are the same recruiting services that try to tell us, J.T. Daniels was the best quarterback coming out of high school. And where's he at right now? He's retired, never played it down in the NFL. Forget going undrafted. Dude never had a chance. And those same years, I can go on and on and on about how hard they missed. They give guys 5 stars. Spencer Rattler, 5-star quarterback. Are you kidding me? Have you watched him play? So just remember that these are the same services that are ranking the players, and they don't know what they're doing. All they're doing is basing it off of how they assess them coming out of high school. You'll see the star ratings, and they'll change it from HS to T for transfer, and I'm telling you, it is embarrassing. It's ridiculous. If you transfer to an SEC school, you get a star. If you don't, you lose a star. How about that? How about that good rule of thumb? And this helps the recruiting services just talk about who got the best classes. And none of it's true. And this is why my channel exists. This is why my impact rankings were so accurate last offseason. This is why I could tell you which teams were going to be good. And the recruiting services got it wrong, 100%. And they're getting it wrong again yet another offseason. And this is why I have what I have. Shout out to you guys. Thank you guys for following the channel and believing in me. So the way the show's going to work is I'm going to talk about every wide receiver in the transfer portal and every tight end. But I already told you guys this. I do not talk about players when they enter the portal. That is irrelevant. When a player enters the portal, well, there's going to be 2,000 of those, and they're not all worth talking about because they're not all going to sign with teams. So instead, I'm going to focus on the players that have committed to schools. So if you're committed, I already have it sorted by position and committed. Now, Rico, you just told us the recruiting services don't know what they're talking about. That's 100% right. but I use them for pictures. Only reason I use these websites are for pictures. Don't you ever forget it. I don't give a shit about anything they're ranking. I don't care what order they're in. I don't even agree with this order here. This order here is crazy to me. It's embarrassing. So I'm going to talk about 10 players. And when I get through 10 of them, I'm going to go to your comments and questions. Now, your comments and questions, you can either be on the Discord server or on YouTube. If you're on TikTok, I'm not going to be talking to you. All you got to do is go over to YouTube and put it in over there. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that the questions don't stay at the tip. I can't see them, so move over to YouTube, put it in, and I'll get to the chat when I get to it because I'll be talking for a while. But if you ask me a question about a player that I haven't talked about, I'm probably not going to answer it because I'm going to eventually talk about that player. So here's what I'm asking you guys to do, the audience. If you hear me talk about a player and I'm done talking about him or her, or I should just say him, and I'm done talking about that particular player, then you should ask the question. And you should say, hey, Rico, what did you think about this individual player? Because maybe I left something out that you were wondering. How does he fit into this offensive scheme? How many reps is he going to get? Do you see him starting, contributing, whatever? So get what I'm saying? So wait for me to talk about a player. If I don't give you the full scope of what I think of him, then ask the question or make the comment. But if you get in here right now, I can see in the comments right here, it's Rico, what do you think of, XYZ? What do you think of Will Shepard? He's going to Colorado. What do you think of Will Shepard? I'm not going to answer that question because when I get to Will Shepard, I'll answer the question. Understood? So that's just the format of the show. So if you're watching right now and you got a question, get ready. Once I talk about these first 10 guys, then we can go from there. So without further ado, let's start talking about these players. The first wide receiver that 24/7 has at the very top is Antoine Wells. Some people know him as Juice Wells. If you guys don't know Juice Wells, this is a former JMU wide receiver. Yeah, you heard me right, JMU, James Madison. And while he was at James Madison, he was pretty good. Okay, so he transferred from James Madison to the SEC, and he became that guy. He became that wide receiver every single time. He was an FCS All-American. My bigger issue with Juice Wells is he wasn't healthy this year. He was injured. Some fans are really upset with him. He got a lot of NIL money, supposedly, while at South Carolina, and then he jumped ship and went to the highest bidder. He went to Ole Miss. Now, I don't like what Ole Miss did with some of their transfer wide receivers this past year. So, once I see a school that doesn't have a good track record with their transfer wide receivers, I wonder why the players all want to go there. Outside of playing with Lane Kiffin, let me tell you, there's a snake on that staff. I don't like Charlie Weiss Jr. I don't. I think he makes a lot of broken promises. He's the quarterback's coach. And I think a lot of these young men are falling for, the sales pitch. Come play with Jackson Dart. Come play with it. But you know what? They effed over Michael Trigg, Zakari Franklin, just a few guys that got in there. And they're not the only team that did it, right? Ole Miss did it, and so did Auburn. They got wide receivers committed to the school and then didn't use them. Now, they used Trey Harris, which is fine, but they kind of showed favoritism. If you get in early enough, you get in their good graces. But if you're a wide receiver jumping in the spring portal, stay away from Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin's already made up his mind on who he wants on the field. And they'll keep telling you, come to our school. They don't give a shit. It's a business. They just want as many people as possible, and then they'll figure it out from there. This is kind of like if you saw a guy on the dating apps. He looks really good, says he's got a good job, and he's interested in a long-term relationship, but the homie is swiping right 100 times. There's not 100 good women in this world, but he just keeps swiping right on all of them because you don't know. FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. He's just grabbing anybody he can, and he'll figure it out when he's done. That's just the way Ole Miss is as well. Ole Miss does not care about these players. They're just grabbing as many as they can. And I'm a huge Lane Kiffin guy. I think he's a good coach. I think he's great at what he does, but it's at the expense of the players. It's a ruthless world. And what I'm referring to is wasted years of eligibility because you're on the roster. It's going to take up a year of your eligibility, and you're not playing. Look, guys, I'm not going to make it a secret. I have 3 current Ole Miss players in my DMs right now asking me for assistance to help them find a new school. 3, okay? So between those 3 and last offseason, them kind of giving a bullshit offer to a quarterback, I vividly remember this. They gave an offer to this young man. Him and his father reached out to me, said, hey, what should we do? I said, well, let's hear him out. And then 2 weeks later, the offer turned into a preferred walk-on. And they said, we don't have the scholarship for you. I'll never forget it. We don't have the scholarship for you. So then I made a video, and I said, this young man, I guarantee you he's not going to the school. Because I already knew he wasn't going to go. I talked to his father. I talked to him. And then they turned around and signed Austin Simmons. He skipped 2 years of his senior year. He what was it, reclassified? He skipped his junior and senior year, the homeschool kid with the 6-point-something GPA. And then they gave him a scholarship. So you told one kid you don't have a scholarship anymore, and he's got to take a preferred walk-on, but 2 weeks later, you gave a scholarship to a kid out of high school. You lied to these kids. You're bullshit. And I don't like the lack of integrity from these coaching staffs. I don't like the way they're piling up players. And for me, Antoine Wells going to a program like that, it's unfortunate. Yeah, I'd rather he stay at South Carolina, go to a different program, at least one that's honest. At least Georgia's not lying, right? I feel like Ole Miss is probably the biggest train wreck out there right now when it comes to just misleading these children, misleading these players. Fucking full-blown. Don't care. And Lane Kiffin will tell you, I got to find the best 85 with my scholarships. Don't care. But I promise you, man, they ain't dedicated to a damn thing. Remember that. Holden Staes. I don't understand why they think he's the best tight end in the portal. He's not. He's an okay kid, big body kid, a Notre Dame tight end. I get it. But 6'4", 242, all tight ends are about that same size. When he jumped in the portal, I think Oklahoma and Washington sent him an offer as well. But he said, yo, I'm going to go over here with Josh Heupel and see what's popping. Now, you guys, Holden Staes doesn't have gaudy numbers. He's not that guy. 15 receptions, 176 yards, 4 touchdowns. You just had Sam Hartman. You had no other receivers, right? Only Tyree and Greathouse were even there. Like, there was nobody that was turning heads. He should have been a targeting monster. So when I see you in an offense that should have been using you, trust me, linebackers are focused on Audric Estime. You should be open. Linebackers are watching the play action. You should be open. And he's not a marquee wide receiver. He's not a marquee receiving tight end. Nothing remarkable about him. But apparently, if you went to Notre Dame, these websites will tell you, hey, this guy's the number 1 tight end in the portal. I don't buy it, man. Not even a little bit. If we had tryouts tomorrow, he's not top 5 tight end in the portal. You heard me. Not top 5. I'm not impressed with that move. Dion Burks, Purdue to Oklahoma. What a great receiver. If you watch film on Purdue this year, they had some decent wide receivers, right? Nothing too flashy. Sheffield's there. It's like he's quality. He's a good college wide receiver. Dion Burks, when you watch tape, you go, whoa. That's David Given. That's who's a good, just Rondale Moore? Rondale Moore, same thing. Like, Dion Burks looks professional. On tape, I thought he was going to go NFL this year. To see him not going to the NFL and going to play for Oklahoma, that's pretty awesome. Because I thought he was going to the NFL. And more importantly, when he jumped in the portal, he had 3 offers. And the 3 offers are USC, Penn State, and Texas. Do you know how much receiver help those 3 teams need? An immense amount of receiver help. And they beat him out? Like Oklahoma beat out those 3? That's remarkable. That's nuts. But that's playing with Jackson Arnold. That's what a 5-star quarterback will do for you. And a good 5-star quarterback. Not that bullshit Drew Allar stuff. I told everybody last offseason, Drew Allar's not a good quarterback. I got so many guys attacking me. So many Penn State fans tell me I'm wrong. He's a 5-star. I'm like, bro, he's a 5-star that couldn't beat out Sean Clifford. That's not a real 5-star. That guy sucks. And what happened all season? Dude looked like a liability all season. Sometimes you guys got to listen. Sometimes you got to sit back and just listen to somebody who watches all the tape. I watch all the tape. And I'm telling you, Jackson Arnold is the best 5-star quarterback that came out last year. Jackson Arnold is the best quarterback that came out of high school last year. Shout out to Denton Guyer High. Watched him for years. Watched him in a showdown with Cade Klubnik in the state title game, and they lost. But he was a man amongst boys, and he had Peyton Bowen on his team. That's the safety, right? Oh, my goodness, they were so good. And he's so good. So it's no surprise they got a star receiver in Dion Burks. Really like Dion Burks, guys. That's an NFL receiver someday, that dude right there. Matthew Golden, this one's going to shock you guys a little bit. Matthew Golden, if you remember, if you're an MVP and you were watching one of the games earlier this year, it was Houston versus West Virginia. And Houston won the game on a Hail Mary. And West Virginia, and we had West Virginia. We all bet West Virginia on the money. And I told everybody, hey, West Virginia's a better team. They're going to win this game. And then in that game, some freak accident shit happened. And there was a Hail Mary, and, you know, we all got our hearts broken. But earlier in the game, there was a kickoff return for a touchdown. It was that kid, Matthew Golden. He's a stud, man. He's a speedster. So fast. 4 stars coming out of high school. Klein Kane High School. 6A. Straight out of Houston. And let me give you guys some backstory here. First off, Xavier Worthy, A.D. Mitchell, probably both going to the NFL. Probably going to both declare. So they need receivers. Isaiah Nair, the Wyoming transfer, only caught 1 pass. He's probably going to leave. So the cupboard's bare at Texas at wide receiver. I know they got Jonte Cook. I know. Everybody's, Rico, what are you talking about? No. But Chris Jackson, the wide receivers coach, he understands what needs to happen right now. And I'm going to bring you guys back to this. Matthew Golden in high school was committed to TCU. And when he was committed to TCU, at the last second, he decided, I don't want to go to TCU. I'm going to go somewhere else. And then by that point, I mean, Houston had been recruiting him for a year and a half. So Houston gets him because he's a local kid. But Texas offered him just super late. And you guys know what I say about Power 5s that offer you super late. It's because they don't really want you. I'm like, you're a backup plan. Somebody else they wanted fell through, and now they got an extra scholarship lying around. They go, hey, how about you? And you're a kid who grew up in Texas. You fall for it, and then you go to the school and you realize, oh, shit, I'm 14th string, right? Well, let me tell you guys, I think that Matthew Golden slipped through the cracks, and Texas and Sark and the boys were really upset about it. And that's why this recruitment was so fast. There was no debate. He didn't take a bunch of other trips, nothing. It's because, remember, his high school teammate was Jaden Blue. And if you guys didn't know, in the last 2 games after the injury at running back, Jaden Blue really came on. So when you got the star quarterback or star wide receiver, star running back from the same high school, they won a bunch of state titles, and he comes on, and you see the way they're treating your old high school teammate, you're like, man, I want to go play with my buddy. And if they really want me, I'll go. But remember this. There was a wide receivers coach at Texas, Andre Coleman. Andre Coleman, his job was to assess the wide receivers in the state and to write cards on them and then evaluate them and we'll recruit them. Andre Coleman turned in his card really late on Golden here. So he was so late on Matthew Golden that's how he slipped through the cracks. And that's why Sark fired his ass, okay? Let's go back to, how do position coaches get fired? Not doing your job. Not just developing the wide receivers, but you're on the road. You got to recruit. And you take a wide receiver from Houston on one of the star teams, first team All-State, and you don't do the card on him and evaluate him properly, then he slips through the crack and goes to Houston, and he's running back kickoffs for touchdowns, and he looks amazing. That's a recruiting miss. And now they get a chance to right the ship and do it right. But that's why Andre Coleman doesn't have a job right now. Okay? I reached out to some members of the Texas coaching staff to talk about this. And I just said, hey, man, I need to understand, when do you guys turn in your cards? Like, when do you dig a little deeper? Because I'm talking to a young man who says he never got a call from you guys for 14 months. And then you called him in the last minute to say, oh, we were late on your evaluation. Come on now. That's what I'm talking about. So shout out to Matthew Golden, finally getting his chance, play for his dream school, going to Texas. Texas needs help at wide receiver. Congratulations. He's a speed demon, y'all. And when you go and return kicks at Texas, it's a little different. You know why? Because the third stringers that are out there on the field blocking for you are actually really good players. So the quality of like the punt return team at Bama is so good because the players on the field are really good. Right? So they're like, wait, Kool-Aid McKinstry leads the country in punt returns. No shit, buddy. He's got a bunch of studs on the field. Just something to think about. I think that's how Matthew Golden's going to excel, is in the return game. And I also think he's going to get opportunities once Adonai Mitchell and Worthy declare. Okay, so look for Matthew Golden to have more impact than people anticipate. He's a good receiver, man. He really is. Just slipped through the cracks, and they weren't paying attention. Justin Jolly. Talk about a full court press to get Justin Jolly. One of the best receiving tight ends in the country. Like hands down. He was out there. He had over 570 yards receiving this year with UConn. I really like Justin Jolly as a receiving tight end. He's got 2 years of eligibility, and now he's going to NC State. Good stuff, man. The way they got him, though, Robert Anay, the offensive coordinator, he's also the tight ends coach. So when you go for your visit and you meet the offensive coordinator and he's the tight ends coach and he's telling you how he incorporates tight ends in the game plan, that's a pretty big deal, okay? Another thing that people need to talk about is Gavin Locklear. Gavin Locklear is he's a recruiting assistant, not a recruiting assistant, an analyst, an offensive analyst, and a quality control coach for NC State. And Gavin Locklear is a former player, turned quality control coach, and when he was sending those text messages and building that relationship, that's what paid dividends for Justin Jolly. That's why he chose NC State, was Gavin Locklear, some quality control assistant. That's awesome. That's what you need. You need your staff to go out there and formulate and construct these relationships with these kids so when they get there, there's a familiar face that they know, and you can't go wrong. Will Shepard, leaving Vandy, going to Colorado. For me, Will Shepard's probably the best wide receiver that's ever signed with Colorado and Coach Prime. He's better than Xavier Weaver. He's better than Javon Antonio. He's better than Jimmy, right? He's better than all of them. Excuse me. He's better than Travis Hunter as a wide receiver. Will Shepard is an NFL wide receiver. Speed demon. Everything he's ever done has been against SEC competition. We're talking a guy 2 years ago, 60 receptions, 700-plus yards, 9 touchdowns. Sorry, I'm under the weather, guys. This year, 47 receptions, over, I think, 600 or 700 yards, another 8 touchdowns. He's a stud. I thought he was going to the NFL. But what more can you do? Xavier Weaver just graduated, right? Star possession wide receiver, whatever you want to call him. Javon Antonio gone. And this is a 6'3" wide receiver. So you're giving Shedeur Sanders a big target, a speed demon, a crisp route runner. He's a difference maker. Will Shepard is. And he's going to go against Big 12 defensive backs. Sounds like a match made in heaven. I think this is a problem from other teams. When you start getting quality receivers like this, he's going to be out there and he's going to really stretch the field. I like it. I like it a lot. That's a quality wide receiver. Jakori Brooks, leaving Alabama, going to Louisville. Hey, man, you spent 3 seasons at Alabama. That wide receiver room is stacked. And it's a little crazy, though. So as a freshman, he did okay. 15 receptions, 200 yards, something like that. But then the next year, right, Bryce Young, you got a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. He goes 39 receptions, 600 yards, and 8 touchdowns. And he does so well that 6 other wide receivers hit the transfer portal. I said 8 touchdowns? Yeah, 8 touchdowns. 6 other wide receivers hit the transfer portal. Remember last year? Trayshawn Holden took off, Christian Leary. Who's the kid who went to TCU? Like, kids were just bouncing. They're like, I'm out. I can't play with this guy. He's taking our spot. Now, obviously, Isaiah Bond was on the up and up. But for me, Jakori Brooks was supposed to be the next guy. This is an IMG kid, number 2 ranked wide receiver coming out of high school, 5 stars, all that shit. And you think he's going to take the next step, and what happened this year? Absolutely horrendous. Now, the quarterback position is what happened. Quarterback position was terrible. He only had 3 receptions for 30 yards. It'll leave a bad taste in your mouth. So you start looking around and you go, hey, I want to go somewhere to play football. I want to go somewhere where I'm appreciated, somewhere that's throwing the rock everywhere. And you go to Louisville. Louisville's losing Jamari Thrash. They're going to need a star wide receiver, and Jakori Brooks plans to be him. That's pretty cool, man. I think he's got a chance to explode. Go, team up with Tyler Shuck and just do the damn thing. I like Jakori Brooks, good wide receiver. I'm so sorry, guys. I don't mean to cough on you all night. I went to the emergency room today. You can see it here on my wrist, and I'm still working. I'm trying, man. So there he is. Now let's talk about Raymond Cottrell. Raymond Cottrell leaving A&M, going to Kentucky. This will be the first guy that I think is a complete bust. I don't understand why they have him ranked this high. It's just they don't want to miss from their high school rankings. That's all it is. Because they had a chance to reevaluate him, and they put him at a T, 4 stars. These recruiting websites are embarrassing, bro. This is not a 4-star player. This is not a quality wide receiver. This is not somebody I'd be excited about. He is 6'3", 210, and I get it. Spent 1 year at at A&M. Didn't see the field. Had 1 reception for 13 yards and a touchdown. This is not a good player. I went back, watched his high school tape. I've done as much assessment as I can, and I can just tell you he's not fast. He has no verified physicals, no verified 40, no verified height and weight. Like, everything he ever did was all hype. Everything. From high school on, it's just like, take my word for it, this is a stud player. What? A&M needed receivers. This guy never contributed to a damn thing. I found his track time was like in the 11s and the 100. He's not even below 11 seconds, which is slow, guys. I need you below 11 seconds at least. And I know that's fast. But it's just, you're a receiver, man. He's 6'3", 210. I get it. Why the hell are you transferring to Kentucky? Kentucky? Barry and Brown's already there. Key's already there. They're already underutilizing their great wide receivers. They're still handing the ball off to Ray Davis and them. I don't like anything about this move. I don't think he's a clutch wide receiver. I don't know how, here's what I don't know. Cyrus Allen's right here, and he's going to A&M. Cyrus Allen's going to play on the field at A&M, something Cottrell could never do. Okay? Cyrus Allen is a 2-time 40 reception a season guy. Cyrus Allen will have 800 yards receiving next year. This guy will be lucky to make a starting lineup. 2 deep. How is he ranked ahead of Cyrus Allen? I'll never understand their metrics and their logic behind this. It makes no sense. Josh Kelly down here just had almost 900 yards receiving, and he's down here. No sense what the fuck they're doing. I don't know what these recruiting websites are doing, but people will write to me and go, we just got one of the best wide receivers in the portal. Who? Raymond Cottrell. Let me tell you about this Cottrell kid, man. His first year in college. You know how old he is? He's fucking 21. He'll turn 21. He's 20. 20 years old. He was in high school. 19, 20 years old. How much? What are we doing? My senior year in high school, I was 16, bro. 3 years later, I would have murdered these dudes. You get what I'm saying? Like, this is just crazy. People don't look into this. This is not a guy, bro. This is not a guy. He'll be 21 next year. They just held him back in school to make him look good. No verified 40s anywhere. Afraid to run. I'm telling you. Cyrus Allen, I like him. Just don't think he's SEC caliber. Watched a lot of La Tech football. You guys know me. I'm a group of 5 guy through and through. I'm with my MVPs. We're watching Power 5 football all day long. Who are we talking about? Smoke Harris. Who are we talking about? Trey Harris. Trey Harris, Smoke Harris. Best 2 wide receivers at La Tech the last 2 years. This is a guy on the team. He's good. He's fine. He don't stick out on tape. He don't impress me. They go and give him 4 stars because he hit the transfer portal because he's going to A&M. Nah, this is the second wide receiver A&M signed that I kind of just look around and go, what are you doing? The other one's the kid from ODU. I won't even talk about him tonight because I'm only talking about the top 25 or so. Who's the other kid from ODU? He's not even listed here, guys. I got to keep going. Let me keep going. Javon Harvey down here. A&M signing receivers. And look, you got a new head coach. So you have new assessment of players. And you got a new head coach coming over from Duke who's used to seeing players in North Carolina in that upper region. And I like him. I'm a big fan. But you got to understand, what are you getting? What are you getting? A&M signing wide receivers that are not of the caliber they should. That's just how I feel about Cyrus Allen. Good kid. Maybe they're changing the culture of the locker room. But this isn't SEC talent. Like, no, I watch film all day long of the group of 5. All day. Nobody's watched more Conference USA football than me. And I'm telling you, not SEC all day. The only guy from the entire group of 5, or not group of 5, but Conference USA that I get excited about on all these wide receivers, Chris Mitchell. This guy right here. I talk about Chris Mitchell all day. That dude's a beast. Not that one. I'm letting you know now. Now, Jaylen Conor. Jaylen Conor's former Oklahoma kid. So this doesn't surprise me, the transfer. Former Oklahoma tight end. He was there for a year. Then he transferred to go play for Herm Edwards. He's a Herm Edwards recruit. Stayed at Arizona State for an extra year to graduate. He was like a quarterback, guys. He ran a lot of Wildcat. He was a Wildcat quarterback this year. He actually threw the ball a fair amount too. I'd say he was like 6 for 8 or something like that in his passing. He was not bad, but he's just a different type of player. I don't know what they're doing. Congratulations, you got yourself a good player-ish. I don't know why players are signing with Texas Tech. I don't know why the receivers are going to Texas Tech. I don't get it. I watched them not use DeAndre McCray properly this last year. Austin P., star wide receiver, had so many yards, and they didn't use him properly. If I go in here and I go like this, and I go Texas Tech football stats, you're talking about the track record of how they're using their wide receivers is embarrassing. And I don't care what they're recruiting. I'm looking at their wide receivers right here, and the guy that sticks out most to me is Dre McCray down here. 255 yards. They threw it to him 29 times. Are you kidding me? You see a guy who had 1,000 yards receiving, 800 yards receiving, 1,000 yards receiving, and they took this amazing wide receiver and threw it to him nothing. This is 1,000 yards. This is an FCS All-American. Nothing. He's so fast. Tore up Bama. Had a great game against Alabama in 2022. Showed up to Texas Tech, and they didn't use him at all. So when I see them do this to wide receivers, I just ask the young men who are looking at this, the young men who hit the portal, why the hell are you going to Texas Tech? You just saw what they did to a 1,000-yard wide receiver. So why are you going? They don't throw to him. Joshua Kelly, former Fresno State, great wide receiver for Jake Haener, maybe the 3rd or 4th best wide receiver at the time, transfers up to Washington State, puts up a ton of yards right now with Cam Ward, and now you transfer to Texas Tech. You have no allegiance to it whatsoever, other than Zach Kitley and Malcolm Kelly, or not Malcolm Kelly. Who's the wide receivers coach? I did a story on him. It's the Houston guy. But because they're getting so many wide receivers in recruiting, you think, oh, they're going to throw it. They're going to throw it. Where? They got one of the best running backs in the country returning. They return one of the best running backs in the country. And he's going to get 1,800 yards rushing next year. Why are we doing this? Caleb Douglas from Florida. Why are you committed to Texas Tech? What is it? They're not using receivers. Wait till next year when I when I do the I Am Right video. And I pull this clip up. And I'm like, guys, I told you they weren't going to use wide receivers. They think they are. All these kids are signing up. It's fucking ridiculous. Jaylen Conor, tight end. Congratulations. Last year, go do something. Go do something. I'm sorry. Rico Flores, California kid, was at Folsom coming out of high school, Northern California, Sacramento area. Kicking butt, taking names. Gets out to Notre Dame. Plays well this year. I liked it. I thought he did well. I thought he had over 300 yards receiving, if I remember correctly. He was used. You're a true freshman. That looks about right. 392 yards receiving. But they fire your receivers coach. Chancey Stuckey gets fired. And what are you going to do? I think Rico Flores is a strong route runner. I think he's great after the catch. I think he reminds me a lot of an Anquan Bolden type of receiver. He's a good route runner. He's strong. He'll break a tackle. He'll stiff arm you. Going to UCLA. Going to be a Chip Kelly guy for a year until he gets fired or something. I don't know. But it's nice. He's back at home in California, but that's too far to drive. Everybody always goes, well, he moved closer to be home, closer to home for family. They still got to fly, bro. It's still a flight if they want to watch the game. You either fly to Notre Dame, but the weather's great. I'm sure the girls are prettier. Ask Manti Te'o. There aren't pretty girls in Notre Dame. I don't care what anybody says, man. It's Indiana. I'm not flying there. I'm not dealing with it. Already talked about it. I'll go to Brillan James, and then I'll go to the chat. Brillan James, Notre Dame, going to TCU. You know how many players from Notre Dame caught passes? Let's pull it up. Let's pull it up here. Notre Dame football stats. Let's go look at how many wide receivers they used in the passing game. I know it's got to be a shit ton. There it is. Look at all this. Look at all these receivers they used this year. And receivers, I'm pretty sure it's 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 receivers had more receptions than Brillan James. Brillan James had 1 reception for 12 yards. Could you imagine being the 8th best wide receiver at Notre Dame in not a good receiver room? Not a good receiver room. You're the 8th best guy. Or 8th most production. Not all that good, man. Not all that good. I am not impressed. I went and turned on the tape. Just doesn't work for me. 6'2", 205. Let me tell you guys something. I'm a track and field guy. I follow track and field a lot. You know why? Because when I graduated high school, I had my school records in the hurdles. And I was okay. I was pretty good at track. I love track. I have a love for it. So I can translate your track times to your NFL, to your football times. Like if I see you and you're a hurdler or a high jumper, I know how much explosion you got when I see you high jumping a certain amount or I see you running a certain speed. So when I tell you that this guy, Brillan James, high jumps as high as my twin brother and runs as fast as I do in the hurdles back when I was 16 years old, that's not FBS caliber athlete. That's not, let's get that guy another scholarship. I think Brillan James is not going to be significant at TCU. You heard it here. He's got 4 years. He can figure it out. I don't think he's an exceptional athlete. I think he's just an average dude, and one day he'll be a school teacher. Like, I don't think he's built for football. That's my assessment. And I think Notre Dame saw that right away, and I think he saw that at Notre Dame. So you come closer to home, congratulations. But I'm not impressed by anything he's ever done. I looked it all up. I did everything I could to try to justify the move and get excited about it. I'm not there. Just keeping it real. All right, I'm going to go to the chat. I'm going to start with this chat over here on the Discord server, and then I'll go over to YouTube. If you're on TikTok, I'm not reading your chat, bro. Nothing you say I'm paying attention to. Move over to YouTube, put it in the comments, and I'll read it. Salt and the SWAT says, big shout out to Princely, his rating from 24/7. Yep. Hi, YouTube. Become an MVP and join us. Shout out to us. Shout out to Jakori Franklin. Ole Miss just had a high school wide receiver recruit decommit like 20 minutes ago because they pulled his offer after they locked in Juice Wells today. It happens. Justin Jolly used my buddy as an advisor during his recruitment. Spoke to him, and he's a good kid. I hope NC State does him well. I think they will. I think they want to utilize him. He's a good receiver, man. He's going to be in the pros one day, so I think that'll be fine. Let's go over to YouTube. Connor Formia says first. Shout out to you, Connor. David in Arizona says, good evening, Rico. What is your opinion on Jaden Bray? I really don't have an opinion on Jaden Bray. I know you're jumping the gun on that. No real opinion. I'll do some. I got to watch some more film. I got to really sit down and assess before I make a statement like that. So I got you. I owe you an answer, David, like always. Yo, peace, Unc. What up? Bascott Brooks. Bascott Books, right, instead of hooks. Andrew says, salute, Rico. Much love and appreciation. Shout out to you, Andrew. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the channel. Jeff Luke says, thoughts on what the Irish have done in the portal? So, as a whole, I haven't assessed entire teams yet. I don't assess teams until after the spring portal, but I get a jump on it probably after the winter portal closes. When I look at the Irish right now, if I'm just talking quarterback, running back, wide receiver, I think they've done very well. Much better than last season. I was not excited about the Sam Hartman signing. I was not excited about the Caleb Thomas signing from Virginia Tech. A lot of the things they didn't move me. Losing Logan Diggs wasn't a good thing. So right now, I think they're doing much better in the transfer portal. I think there's a bigger emphasis on addressing their shortcomings and what they're missing. And they're doing pretty well. And I think that the exchange of what's departing versus what's incoming, the exchange is much closer than it was last year. And you always want it to be in the positive as opposed to the negative. And it's hard, right? Every team says they're getting better in the transfer portal. Every team thinks they're improving. That's why I do my impact rankings and tell you guys where I see them. And so for Notre Dame last season, despite what everybody was saying, and everybody was praising, we got the best quarterback in the portal, Sam Hartman. If you watch my videos, go back and watch them. I tell you guys, I don't think he's that good. I go out there and tell the world, I don't think Notre Dame's going to be too good. I think the wide receiver room is bare. I think they're going to be bad this year. And I said that. And I said, I think at best they're winning 8 games. You can go back and find the videos. And it's true. So just sit down and let me assess the rosters. It's going to take some time. But so far, so good for the Irish. Rico, how good is Will Shepard? So I already talked about him. I think he's NFL caliber. I think he's a very good wide receiver. Very fast. I know it's receivers, but DeQuan Finn to Baylor. Well, Baylor signed 3 quarterbacks last year, used none of them. At least this year, they'll figure it out. I don't think DeQuan Finn is better than some of the quarterbacks on Baylor's roster right now. If that's what they're banking on, congratulations. They might move him to running back. I know Baylor's looking for a running back in the portal. DeQuan Finn is not better than R.J. Martinez, who's already there. He's a high school kid, transferred in from NAU. And the other kid they had was Braden Locke. And maybe he's better than Braden Locke. Maybe. We'll see. If they want to start DeQuan Finn, more power to him. But that's not the move. Not from what I've seen. Shout out to Adrian. Thank you for the thumbs up. Just joined in from football practice. Can you tell me what you think of Terrell Henry committing to my Wisconsin Badgers? Unfortunately, he's not listed on here tonight. I don't think I'm going to get to him tonight. So it would be in the second episode. But what I can tell you is, coming over from Michigan State, he's a good kid, man. He's a good receiver. And you got to remember, when you're at Michigan State and you can't start, you got to remember who the hell was there, right? So if you're just contributing and you're kind of on the fringe of being in the starting lineup, I think he was there for 2 years, if I remember correctly. And you're talking about Keon Coleman and Jaden Reed and Jeremy Bernard. There was good receivers. So I think he's got the potential to still be really good. He just couldn't be better than those guys. Going to Wisconsin, I know a lot of young receivers want to get in that rotation and get in that lineup. Phil Longo's got people convinced he's going to do some passing offense of some sort. I haven't seen it. They need the personnel for it. I was not impressed with their offense this year. It looked terrible. I don't understand why players are still going to Wisconsin. They're selling you on something that they haven't done yet. I would much prefer Wisconsin to recruit players and have them fit their scheme than them keep trying to tell me they're going to have a pass-heavy offense this year. I've just not been impressed with what they've done so far. We'll see what happens. Elijah Surratt to Indiana. Not surprised. Congratulations to him. Rico, we have to know your opinion on Oklahoma State. Last year, a lot of people knocked them for how much talent they lost in the portal. And then I just told everybody, hey, they replaced the players with players that weren't as good, but they found replacements. They did okay. And then when I wanted to say Gundy's going to be on the hot seat because they're going to have a bad season, I looked around the schedule and I went, wait, they play all the new teams. They had the easiest schedule in the conference. I was like, they're going to end it with BYU, Cincy, UCF, and Houston. Like, these guys are going to be just fine. And sure enough, they were. And they have a good coach. So they got to find a quarterback. But Oklahoma State's fine. You got a program. And it works well. They're the Iowa of the Big 12. They're the Iowa. You got Kirk Ferentz. Just kind of make shit happen. Oklahoma State, same thing. You got a coach that makes it happen. Shout out to Gundy. They did my Jakori wrong. Back-to-back 1K receiver just wasting. I totally agree, Andrew. Rico, come back to YouTube. I miss all your short videos. Yeah, I'll never do that again. That's what I lost all my money doing that. No more short videos on YouTube ever again. All YouTube will be is my long format videos, my live streams. Maybe one day I'll create videos for YouTube only, just the way I am now. But for now, it's only going to be live streams and long format shows. I apologize. That's just the way it's going to be. Cannot afford to lose my money again. Is Ollie Gordon staying or going? I'm not a fortune teller, Zachary. I talk about and assess what happens after the fact. I never do that shit unless I have a source or somebody's reached out to me. I'm not in the business of guessing. This is why I'm so accurate. This is why everybody goes, man, Rico can't miss. Because I don't guess that shit. I make sure I have the information right. I make sure I have an insider or the individual player has told me, and then I make my announcement. Not a prediction, an announcement. A lot of people think they're predictions. Man, you got this prediction right. Nah. It's because I'm very careful about what I do in that regard. Remember that. Who's going to FSU? Cam Ward, or DJ? Once again, I have no idea. Haven't talked to either one of them. Don't have an inside track on it. Yo, Rico, are these players that are just committed? So far, yes. All the players I'm going to talk about are the ones committed. I will probably touch on the top 10 that are not committed at the end of the show. Clayton Kelly, I apologize. Matthew Golden, high school teammate of Texas running back Jaylen Blue. Correct. Talked about it, touched on it. Glad you caught on. Sorry if I eventually get to you guys. Do you answer questions or just talk? I answer questions. Let me tell you that fans are here for your educated folk to answer questions, not hear you blabber. This is a very shitty, non-interactive live. Oh, Boxman, you must be new. I interact with everybody. I read every comment, as you can see. As you can see, I'm reading your comments. Had you used your time here to ask a question, you'd be much better off. You don't understand what you're doing. Yep, I talk. I let it build up. I let people answer the questions, and then I get back to talking again. You don't understand the concept. Do me a favor, man. Become a content creator. See how long it lasts. See if you can pay your bills with it. You probably can't. I'm good at what I do. Second to none. Rico can do better should be his name. He's talking about nothing nobody that's watching is asking or curious about. Good stuff, Boxman. You're amazing, Boxman. You're imparting so much knowledge on us. Have you spoken on Mikey Harrison? I have not yet, Earl. I will get to it. He hasn't spoken on anything anyone asked. That's cool. Malachi Nelson just entered the portal right now. Congratulations. I'll talk quarterbacks the next time I go. He does when he takes questions from the chat. Thank you very much. He doesn't understand. Shout out to Earl. Shout out to Lewis Henton. Roll Tide Roll. Good to see you, brother. Thoughts on Demir Miller going from Monmouth to Rutgers? I'm excited for him. I think Demir Miller's an amazing player. I think that good players from the FCS like that, lower level guys, All-Americans should probably go. I have a list of all the FCS guys I want to make videos on, and Demir Miller's towards the top. So it's nice to see Rutgers get good players. Somebody has to be old enough to buy the liquor. Touche, Lewis. Nelson, 5-star freshman. Yeah, he's not a 5-star freshman. He's just a freshman. 5-star. The stars don't matter anymore. I bet that guy's not here anymore. Boxman Fishing's not here anymore. He missed the chance for me to read all of his comments. That's too bad. That's what happens, dude. Losers show up, get red, and then move on. Their life sucks, man. They lose their girlfriends to the neighbor. Would love to hear you talk about London Humphreys, Vandy wide receiver. I don't know why he's not here. He was listed number 1 on their list because they're morons. London Humphreys, 6'3", maybe the second or third best receiver at Vandy, going to Georgia. Georgia needs help at wide receiver. They're losing a ton of guys to graduation and probably going to the pros. So they're taking him. I don't think he's that good. I think the fact that he's going to Georgia, people are excited about it. But he wouldn't make any waves for me personally, Clayton Kelly. I just see a decent wide receiver going to Georgia. I don't think he's that good. Nope. The gem of that class or the gem of that team was Shepard. I watch a lot of film on Vandy, and just a skinny kid who makes a couple plays here and there. Hope he can do what better. Have I addressed Robbie Ashford entering the portal? No. I don't care when players enter the portal. I care about when they sign. Remember that. A lot of players are going to enter the portal and never sign anywhere. 2,000 to be exact. Easy. I know this is that. Also, this is my first live being in. Always watch on TikTok. Shout out to you, Jeremy Fortner. Thank you for not shitting the bed like that other guy. Thoughts on Torrey Horton returning to Colorado State? So this year he was the best group of 5 wide receiver outside of Malachi Corley. And I would say that I'd be a little nervous that Torrey Horton might hit the portal in the spring and just leave everybody kind of assed out, if you ask me. Okay, I would probably be a little nervous about that. School teacher, I don't know what that's about. Oh, the guy that's going to become a school teacher, wide receiver-wise, yep. Malachi Nelson, that's fine, Andrew. It's not a big deal. He's never played football. Why does everybody get excited about a guy who's never played football? Malachi Nelson entered the transfer portal. Why are we excited about that? He's never played football. No, 5-star freshman should not be in your 2 deep. So why are you excited about him? It's just some recruiting websites that told you they were good. There's nothing good about him, bro. Nothing. He was 3rd string. Bro, got it. Who got the better transfer portal wide receiver? Texas or Oklahoma? Knee-jerk reaction for me says Oklahoma. Knee-jerk reaction says Oklahoma. If we're talking about Golden versus Shepard, or not Shepard, Shepard? Not Shepard, I'm sorry. Golden versus Burks? Yeah, Burks is a better receiver. Burks is a more accomplished player. The Burks is an NFL guy right now. Burks is an NFL guy playing college football. I like what Burks does right now. Higher Sowers Iron going to get playing time. Yeah, I asked the same question, Jeremy Harrington. I'd love to know. I think he's going to be in the rotation. I don't know how they sold him on that dream. They must know something we don't. Like, they must know some of these players are hitting the portal. How about that? Or going pro. The roster, the coaching staff has to know something's up. That's how that goes. Thoughts on Rico Flores going to Notre Dame? I already talked about it. Rewind the show. Thoughts on Curtis DeVille from Purdue? None, really. None. I saw him in the portal. Doesn't move the meter for me. Thoughts on Quentin Skinner and Lawrence Arnold at Kansas? Haven't talked about him. Not much to say. Nope. Florida landed 2 good linemen in the portal. Has nothing to do with wide receivers. Did you talk about Juice Wells? Rewind the show. Do you think Matt Rule can turn Nebraska around? Yes. That's done. I don't know what that means. What do you think of Thor Griffin? I don't. Hodge good from Liberty. I don't know what you consider good. Thoughts on my Florida Gators? Go Gators. I don't really think about the Gators. Don't really think about them. I hope they're getting better every year. What are your thoughts on Colby Young? Colby Young, Jay Pickney, I haven't talked about him because he's not committed anywhere. Colby Young finally got in the rotation at Miami this year. I feel like he shouldn't have left. I know he's a Pennsylvania kid, so There's probably a chance for him to move back up north. Probably want to go play at Syracuse. Now that you're in the rotation and you're proven, maybe go to Rutgers. I don't know what – or no, go to Pitt. My bad. I think my prediction is he's going to Pitt. Probably makes more sense to get back home, go closer to home, get back up north now that you lost your quarterback at Miami. But I thought it just – man, you finally get in the rotation and you jump in the portal. I don't understand that, man. You've been fighting for it, and now you finally get it. It's tough. I'll be talking about Deshawn later. Let me get back to they're trying to sell Wisconsin as Ohio State because of Luke Fickell. Yeah. I hear you. I heard Cam wanted $1 to $2 million from Ohio State. Yeah, I heard all kinds of stuff. Thoughts on DJ Lagway? He's a recruit and doesn't play football. That's my thoughts. I don't give a shit about recruits, guys. They're not in the too deep. They don't play football. That's the reality of the situation. You guys come in here asking about 5-star recruit, blah, blah, blah. They don't play football. Future video idea, team breakdowns after the spring per video vid per school. Earl, have you not watched my transfer portal rankings? Like, I don't understand what you guys are giving me ideas on what I do. Like, that's crazy. That means you guys don't watch the channel. So when you go to me and you go to my profile and you go to my homepage, whether it's on your phone or not, you can go on your phone, on TikTok, and there are these playlists right here above the videos. And if you scroll to the right on the playlist, keep scrolling to the right, you will see transfer portal rankings. And when you just got to keep going until you see them. There's the winter transfer portal rankings. 132 posts. You know why there's 132 posts? Because the winter transfer portal rankings have a video for every single team, and it's ranked. So this is Colorado, Charlotte, UMass, Arizona State, every single team. I do a video on every single team. So you're giving me a video idea that I already do twice a fucking year. The fact that you guys don't know how to use playlists is not my problem. The shit already exists. That's what's frustrating to me. It's like I make the content. You guys just don't know how to digest it. I appreciate the idea, Earl. Thank you for being here. I'm not mad at you, man. I'm frustrated with the thousands of people who watch my shit and don't know what to do. Don't know how to do it. It's fucking crazy to me. I'm going to stop on Gimp Show here. Is those Colorado wide receivers going to be game changers for Shedeur? Yes. Yes, they're getting much better receivers than they had last year. They're upgrading their talent to professional caliber wide receivers. NFL caliber wide receivers. It's pretty good stuff. So far, so good. What do you think of Josh Kelly's move to Texas Tech? I just talked about it. I think it's a terrible move. I don't like any receivers going to Texas Tech. I don't understand it. They misuse their players. Joshua Kelly's a good receiver. Texas Tech misused everybody from the transfer portal last year. Wasted a bunch of people's time. Why so many leaving Ohio State and Georgia? What are you talking about? The amount of players leaving Ohio State and Georgia is the average amount of players leaving any team in America. There is nothing to it. They have, 13 players in the portal? You can have anywhere from 20 to 30 leaving your program. Who gives a shit? Alabama had 24 people leave the team last year. They need the attrition to sign the recruiting classes. They need to leave. There is not a lot of players leaving Ohio State and Georgia. They need more to leave. They only have 85 scholarships. When you're signing recruiting classes of 25 players and you redshirt them, that's 125 players in 5 years. You only have 85 scholarships. You need everybody to leave. You need people to leave. He don't know your channel. Yeah, they ate trolls and bots. Yeah, I hear you. Thoughts on 3 Gator portal commits today? They're not wide receivers. I'm only talking wide receivers. You said Alabama would go 7-5. That obviously has nothing to do with it. I also said Alabama was going 11-2. Where were you? I made a whole video on it. I tell my MVPs to bet on Alabama to win their games every week. Where are you? Jake New. Where the fuck are you, buddy? Every week I talk about Alabama winning. Where are you? I made a video and talked about how I wanted Alabama to win over 10 games this year. Where were you in that video? Bum-ass shit. Don't even want to hear this dude. Fake people up in here. What top 5 schools are winning the portal? I have not assessed teams in the portal. that I rank all the teams in the portal after spring football. Thoughts on my Cal Golden Bears transfer, Teddy? Not a receiver. Don't give a shit. Thoughts on LSU wide receivers next year? Ross, I think they need some help. I think Malik Neighbors departing, Thomas departing, they need some help because they had a lot of guys dropping passes and nobody was impact. They've got one receiver so far that I've kind of, okay. But other than that, nothing really. Lewis Brown from Colorado State also hit the portal. Not worried about it. Last question, since I know now, Brock Vandagriff to Kentucky. What's the question? Yes, he's going to Kentucky. He's not a bad quarterback, but he's never played a game of football. They don't realize the jump from high school and college to the pros, 5 stars out the window. Exactly. Opinion on Holden Staes. Rewind the show. I already talked about it. Do you think the Pac-12 ending does it affect the transfer portal at all? No, not necessarily. Bascott Books, what affects the portal is 85 scholarship players. 85 scholarship players. That's it. Oh, I did that already. I did the rankings. I had to delete all the videos. The rankings are on YouTube as well. Those videos that I post on TikTok were also on YouTube. Transfer playlist is fire. Thank you so much. All right, guys, I'm going to get back to this. Let's get back to the list. And I'm going to talk about something nobody wants to hear me talk about, whatever the fuck that kid was saying. All right, we're on Zavon Thomas. Zavon Thomas, stud wide receiver, leaving Mississippi State and going to LSU. This is their chance to try to find somebody to replace their receiver core, just like I said, right, when Malik Neighbors leaving. But Zavon Thomas is fast, man. 40 receptions this year, 500 yards receiving, only 1 touchdown. He is little, 5'11", 190. He looks smaller on tape, but he's a little jitterbug, man. That dude will juke you everywhere. Louisiana kid, so he's repping home, wanting to come home. Good for him. Remember Trey Thomas last year? Trey Harris. Leaving La Tech, going to Ole Miss, and dominating in Ole Miss. This is the equivalent. This is what they're looking for. LSU ignored Trey Harris coming into the transfer portal. They thought, oh, no, we don't want that guy. We got our guys. And then they saw what Ole Miss did. Ole Miss knocked it out the park with Trey Harris. They want to do the same thing. So they go out and get the little guy. Zavon Thomas is nice. Pretty damn good dude. If you want to watch film, he's number 1. And we got haters over here. We got haters. We got Sultan Swat saying he is the definition of a diva wide receiver. He wants his ratio. He wants the ball. It is what it is. Don't let these boys get you mad. Chamon Medier. Tight end, going from Cincinnati to Colorado. I will say this is their prototypical tight end that's going to help them kind of block. So Colorado this year, obviously, they had to get rid of Zeke, the kid who transferred in from Arkansas State. And then they had Michael Harrison fill in the third string, former walk-on, whatever he was, tight end. And he did well. But Michael Harrison's hitting the portal. He's out of here. Obviously, they lost their tight ends coach. And now you get Medier. Medier's a straight-up blocking tight end. A beast of a man, by the way. So this is a kid who played at Miami Central in Florida. He flips at the last second. So he was committed to Miami. At the last second, he flips to Cincinnati and Luke Fickell and the boys. This was back in 2020, 2021 timeframe. So he goes up to Cincinnati. He chills there for a little bit. And when Luke Fickell leaves, he stays at Cincinnati. Plays for Satterfield this year. Watch the game against West Virginia. I think he has 2 touchdowns in that game. So if you want to go watch the highlights or go watch the game, Cincinnati, West Virginia, Medier plays in that game. But he's a big, slow, blocking tight end, which is pretty cool because he replaced, remember Josh Weil, the tight end for Cincinnati? Maybe you guys don't. And Leonard Taylor. He replaced them, and he just went out there and just down blocks like a beast, man. And when I say down blocks like a beast, what I'm referring to is he's making holes, down blocking. The guard kicks out the defensive end, and he down blocks on a defensive tackle or a linebacker if he gets to the second level. This guy's a good blocker, man. Can chip and help the offensive line out. So when you guys were looking at schemes at Colorado, and you're like, man, I wish Shedeur Sanders wouldn't get sacked so much. Well, this is how this happens. You get a tight end like this, and he can actually get in there and move some bodies, right? He's 6'5", 250. He's an extension of the offensive line. And he gets that defensive end just one more gap away from you. puts him way out there in the 7 gap or the 9, wherever the fuck you want. And I shouldn't say gap, I mean holes. I don't know if you guys know the numbering of holes, 2, 4, 6, 8, and then 1, 3, 5, or defensive gaps, A, B, C. Sometimes I use terminology and I just assume you guys know. You know, when we talk about wide receivers, they always say, is he an X, a Y, or a Z? X is the outside receiver, the number 1, the tall guy. Think of the alphabet when you're looking at the field. X, far left. Tall dude is going to go deep and beat everybody. Calvin Johnson type dude. X, Y is your slot receiver or your tight end sometimes. So your Y is your slot receiver, and then X, Y, and Z. Your Z receiver is the dude off the ball, off the line of scrimmage, but he's the outside, right? Usually running your comebacks and shit like that. Just some things to think about. Every scheme is different, but when you hear certain terminology, I hope you guys know what's going on. Mark Redmond leaving San Diego State, going to Louisville. Man, Louisville used, who was their tight end this year? Joey Gatewood. You guys remember Joey Gatewood? Maybe you don't. Joey Gatewood, coming out of high school, was supposed to be the next Cam Newton. He went to Auburn. He was supposed to be the next Cam Newton at Auburn. It didn't work out. He didn't get the job. He ended up transferring. He went to Kentucky. Couldn't win the job there. They moved him to wide receiver. And then he couldn't start there at wide receiver, so then he transferred to UCF. Couldn't start there. Couldn't do anything at UCF. So finally, his last transfer, he goes to Louisville this year, and he had a couple of really good touchdowns. And he was used, and he's one of those receiving tight ends, and he looked good. Shout out to Joey Gatewood getting his career back on track. Now, I don't know if he's going to make it in the league or not, but he did pretty good. So when tight ends see that they're being utilized like that, it's pretty exciting stuff. So what does he do? Well, you start getting any tight end, and you can get one from across America. That's pretty damn awesome, man. Shout out to this young man. He's 6'6", 255, Redmond. I think he was first team All Mountain West in the preseason. Now, they had terrible quarterback play. San Diego State had terrible quarterback play. He didn't get to do anything. But this is a guy who, for 2 years now, he's been on the Joey Mackey Award list, and I think he's a good guy. Shout out to Louisville. They got themselves a decent tight end. Decent tight end, Carson Ryan, going back home. He's from Utah. He played at American Fork or whatever that place is. I thought he did well at UCLA. He thought he did okay. He's got 2 years of eligibility left. He's going to team up with Landon King, who was a really good tight end skill-wise from Auburn and transferred last year to Utah. So going to have some good 1-2 punch. What they need to find out, though, is that Kuthi kid coming back, because they got a lot of tight ends. They need tight ends. They got tight end U next year, Utah. Tight end Utes, Utah. Yeah, man. And so Brant Kuthi or something like that, if he comes back, tight ends are loaded at Utah, and obviously they have Cam Rising. Eric McAllister, complete stud of a receiver, 6'4", 200 pounds. I think he's got NFL written all over him. Star wide receiver at Boise. Quit the team middle of the season. Going to TCU. I've made many videos on him. Good for him. Chris Mitchell, stud. Chris Mitchell is a stud. He is little, man. They say he's 6'1", 175. On tape, he's even smaller. Like, he's smaller. But I'm telling you, easily one of the best wide receivers in Conference USA. FIU had terrible, utterly terrible quarterback play. But somehow, some way, Chris Mitchell was showing up to play every single week and looking good. And remember I was talking about XYZ receivers? This is a Z receiver for Chris Mitchell. Okay, he'll route you up. He's good. He had a big game against Arkansas. I want to say he went 6 for 157, 6 receptions, 157 yards against Arkansas, 8 for 116 against Western Kentucky. We gambled on that game. He had a big game against Liberty, maybe 87 or 91 yards or 89 yards. 91 yards on New Mexico State. All the best teams on the roster. Jacksonville State, 109. Like, he always showed up big against all the big teams by himself. That whole team is shit by himself. That's a good player right there. Chris Mitchell, good player. Going to Notre Dame, I think he'll put up numbers. I think he gives them a chance. Very similar is Chris Tyree. Now, shout out to me. I predicted he would go to Virginia. I was right. I'm not saying I had insider knowledge, but I told you guys he was going to Virginia, and he did. Going back home, Chris Tyree's fast. Clocked over 22 miles an hour this year. Stud wide receiver. Former running back. Moved him to wide receiver. A lot like Raleek Brown. Leaving USC, going to Arizona State. Same thing. Just the stud of a guy. Really like him. Colin Lacy. You see this right here? This is lazy. Saying he is a 3-star transfer wide receiver is absolute horseshit. Colin Lacy will be a top 10 receiver next year production-wise. Colin Lacy is just as good as any of these receivers above him. Colin Lacy is the truth. Colin Lacy is the mother-flipping truth. All right, leaving South Alabama, going to Louisville, just like Jamari Thrash leaving Georgia State, going to Louisville. Colin Lacy is the real deal. We're talking about 91 receptions, 1,300 yards, and 7 touchdowns this year. In one season, 1,300-yard receiver. That's Tank Dell numbers. And they have the nerve to put him down here at a 3-star wide receiver. Behind dudes who've never caught passes. Behind dudes who caught 1 pass all year. This dude right here caught 1 pass all year. He's 4 stars. Transfer, 4 stars. You go down here, they give Colin Lacy no love. So when they tell you, oh, we did an assessment of the talent on the rosters, blah, 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 they don't fucking know what they're talking about. Because that guy right there, Colin Lacy, in his college career so far, over 200 receptions, 2,500 yards right now. Complete animal of a player, and they have the nerve to rank him like this. It's embarrassing. They don't know what they're doing. And I'm talking about 24/7 and on 3. They don't know what they're doing. Deshawn Hanika here, he's very well rested. Very well rested. He's leaving Iowa State, going to Kansas. Congratulations. Probably needs a new beginning. If you guys didn't know, he didn't play this year. Deshawn Hanika did not play this year. He was banned for gambling, if you guys remember correctly. But the year before, back in 2022, he had 240 yards receiving, 4 touchdowns. Nothing too great. Nothing too great. It doesn't really move the meter for me. But Kansas wanted to give him a shot. He's a big body kid. Go out there and do your thing. But I haven't seen anything that warrants the placement where it's at right here. Okay? But more power to him. Good luck. Robert Lewis. I don't know what you're doing, Robert Lewis. You must not have learned from Jair Shorter or Brian Battie or anybody else who transferred in to Auburn. They don't use you guys like they promised they would. Shout out to Hugh Freeze. You're taking Robert Lewis from the Sun Belt, putting him in the SEC, and I don't think you're going to give him the touches he deserves. This is a third-team All-Sun Belt guy. He can play football, but are you kidding me? They got a 5-star in Cam Coleman that they need to feed. Perry Thompson. Who's the kid? Malcolm Simmons and Bryce Kane, if I remember correctly. Those are 4 kids that they got to give to. Those are 5 and 4-star kids they got to give the ball to, or they're going to transfer out. Robert Lewis will not be getting his touches. He bought into the hype, bro. He's drinking the rat poison, or he's eating the rat poison, whatever, dude. You don't do this. Not at all. Zed Haynes leaving Georgia, going to Syracuse. People, oh, why are all these? Look at this. They moved him down to 3 stars. You know why they moved him to 3 stars? Because he's going to the ACC. That's it. Nothing's changed. It's been 12 months, and you made him a 3-star kid now. Why? Because he's following his recruiter? You guys don't know. This is how this works. This kid was 4 stars just a month ago. But now he's not a 4-star receiver anymore. He's just a 3-star. The politics, it's outrageous. But the real reason he's departing is when you go look at a player recruiting profile, you get this chart right here. And you can see who he was recruited by. And his primary recruiter was Fran Brown. Fran Brown primary recruited this young man, Zed Haynes, and he's following his recruiter. And it doesn't hurt that he's from PA, so he's going back up north. He's tired of the South. He don't like it down in Georgia. Me neither, bro. I'm moving too. So he's leaving Georgia, going back up to PA, following his recruiter. Hope he does well. It's a damn shame the recruiting websites have the nerve to take away a star from a young man and then don't have the decency to know that this is a 4-star at the minimum. 4-star wide receiver in Colin Lacy. Like, I could go on every single one of these. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Ashton Cozart, another guy, removing his star. He was a 4-star just the other day. This is a speed demon right here. This man is fast. I watched the tape. Fast as hell. Spent 1 year at Oregon, going to SMU. I'm telling you guys, it's a Texas kid, so he's coming back home. 6'3", 195, very good speed. No idea why they moved him down to 3 stars. It's a damn shame. Oh, look, they're typos. They have the whole list starting over again. The list repeats itself because they don't know what they're doing. Ugh. Tyler Neville leaving Harvard after 3 years, going to Virginia. Good tight end, good kid. 2-time All-Ivy League. Let me tell you guys, All-Ivy League, all that means is you're all-conference. All-Ivy League, there's only 8 teams in the Ivy League, and if you're one of the best players, you're All-Ivy League. Cool story, bro. Not a good move. A worse move is what Jamari Macklin's doing. I love Jamari Macklin as a receiver. I thought he was good this year at North Texas. I cheered for him. Does not belong in the SEC. I thought he learned this the first time. Coming out of high school, he went to Missouri. Yes, he's Jeremy Macklin's cousin. He goes to Missouri. He's there for a couple years. And then out of nowhere, he changes his mind. Well, he can't play there. Couldn't play there. So he transfers to North Texas. Sounds like a good transfer. Gets to North Texas, and he doesn't dominate at North Texas. He was the second best wide receiver on the team. The best wide receiver was Jair Shorter. Jair Shorter transfers to Auburn last offseason. And now Jamari Macklin gets his chance to be the star guy at North Texas. And he has 1,000 yards, and he does great. Shout out to Eric Morris, his new head coach. Former UIW head coach. Stud-ass offensive coordinator, the guy who made Cam Ward who he is. Yeah, I said it. Eric Morris left UIW with Cam Ward. Both went to Washington State. He was the offensive coordinator there. Put up crazy numbers. Won 7 games. Then he became the head coach of North Texas this year. You know how great North Texas offense was this year? So great, they averaged over 35 points a game. The quarterback, Chandler Rogers, goes from ULM to North Texas, and now he just transferred to Cal. The 2 running backs, Oscar Attaway III, goes from North Texas to South Carolina. Adehi, their best running back, still in the portal right now, and then their best receiver is going to Kentucky. That North Texas offense is so great. All the best players went to Power 5 teams. Happened last year too. The year before that it happened. Larry Nixon III went to Auburn. Jair Shorter went to Auburn. Varkey's Gums went to Arkansas. Best tight end. Larry Nixon was a linebacker. Jair Shorter was a wide receiver. It's nuts. North Texas has so many great players, and nobody's paying attention. And then at the end of the season, they all jump in the portal, and now all you guys, they're going to all your favorite teams. And now you guys want to know about North Texas. But during the season, you won't watch them play. Those are all your future players, but you won't watch. How many of you guys watched North Texas play football this year? The MVPs watched. I made them watch. Nobody else did. I know it. But Jamari Macklin, what are you doing? You're already in the SEC. You couldn't play. You go to North Texas for 1 year, and now you're going to Kentucky. What does Kentucky have? Barry Brown, Key. Like, they got that other kid. Remember I told you he's going to be a bust? The A&M kid. Raymond Cottrell, Mr. 20 years old out of high school. Slow as hell. And now you got Jamari Macklin. I don't understand how these players can't sit there and assess how they were treated. It's not a dating app and you don't know what that girl did with her last boyfriend. Like, you don't get to sit there and go, well, I didn't know she's a cheater. You could accidentally swipe right on a cheater. You could swipe right on a gold digger. You could swipe right on somebody who mistreats you. somebody not trustworthy. You can dating apps, you can mess up. You don't know their history. You don't know how it went down. How is this happening in college football? You know their history. It's right there in front of you. All you got to do is study how they treated their last transfers. How do they treat their wide receivers? They just had Devin Leary transfer in. And now they got Brock Vandergriff. You know the difference between the two of them? About 12,000 yards. One guy's never played. You're transferring to a school with a quarterback that's never played. And you weren't good enough to play in the SEC. And the guy that started over you, remember this, Jamari Macklin, you weren't good enough to play at Missouri. That's why you transferred out to play at North Texas. And when you got to North Texas, the guy that started over you wasn't good enough to play at Auburn this year. The guy's better than you, can't play there. And now you're going back. And you're easily the third best receiver at Kentucky today. You know how many receptions you get being the third best wide receiver at Kentucky? 20 tops. You just went from being a 1,000-yard receiver to a 200-yard receiver. These kids don't understand. All you need to do is be seen. There's no better ability than availability. There's no better option than to get on the field. Going to the SEC doesn't get you drafted. Being a starter gets you drafted. The 22nd drafted, the 18th drafted running back last year was the starting running back for Georgia. The very last running back drafted was the starting running back from Georgia. If you can't start over him, you're not an NFL running back. All the bench warmers, you're not an NFL running back. The starter was the last guy drafted. This is why they're offering players in the transfer portal. You got to study it, man. You're not as good as you think you are, and the depth chart isn't all NFL guys. So you got to get on the field and be seen, or you're not going to make it. Tank Dell, back-to-back 1,300-yard seasons at Houston when they were a group of 5 team. Back-to-back 1,300-yard seasons, group of 5 team. If you got 1,300 yards in the group of 5, guess what you should do the next year? Another 1,300 yards. You will make it. Go sit the bench. You won't. Bo Collins, leaving Clemson, going to Notre Dame. A lot of this has to do with Riley Leonard. Bo Collins says, I want to play with Riley Leonard. Playing at Clemson, he saw Riley Leonard. He knows how good he is. He says, I want to go play with him. Congratulations. That's a good move for him. He's 6'3", 210. Can't get mad at him. All right. Drake Dabney, leaving Baylor, going to TCU. Congratulations. This is a starting tight end. Started every game. I want to say Drake in 2022 against Texas Tech, he broke his fibula bone. So to see him come back from a broken bone and actually play every down, very impressed with him. Cordell Russell, I'm going to end it here, and then I'm going to take your comments and questions, and we'll hit the rest of these guys in the next wide receiver episode. Cordell Russell, they call him Baby T.O. Spent 1 year at TCU. He's got 4 years of eligibility left. This is a guy that's going to be developed into the starting lineup. He saw what's going on over there, and he wants to be a part of it. 6'4", 210, good size. Baby T.O., now you get to go over there and work with Coach, work with T.O. in some practices or whatever. So more power to him. I'm just saying. There you go. I'm going to go back to the questions, comments, concerns. If you're on TikTok, thank you for being here. I don't read any of these. You got to move over to YouTube, drop it in over here. And I got you guys. How do y'all survive the fight night? We did survive the fight night. It was pretty cool. Shout out to you, Steve. Thank you for being there. Yeah, if you're an MVP, you know the deal. I put on the fights for the MVPs. We stream them on the Discord server. We watched them. Shout out to all the MVPs who joined me for the watch party. It was pretty cool. Suggesting on videos, do the same thing you did last season, but it would be a great idea. You're welcome. There we go. I support him leaving, but man, he cried about getting looked at the wrong way. I know. I've been so deep in portal crap that I didn't even realize all the weapons Louisville got. Yeah, Salton, Louisville's loaded right now. If there's a team out there that I want to give an A+ to, it's Louisville. And no one's paying attention. Or they're not talking about it enough because they're talking about, like, look, Louisville just got Donald Chaney at running back. It's a great deal. They're giving this injured running back a chance. And Donald Chaney's good, man. In a loss, he rushed for over 100 yards against Georgia Tech. He's good, man. But pay attention. Louisville's restocking like you wouldn't believe. I like Louisville a lot in the preseason, in the offseason. So, opinion on Chris Brazell. Oh, let me do this. Let me go back to those wide receivers. I'm going to go this way. Instead of looking at committed, I'll look at uncommitted guys. And we'll just go over the top guys because I've done so many. So there's Landon Humphrey. So he's not committed. It's 100% to Georgia, but there he is. Like I said, he's a decent player. I don't see anything noteworthy why did they make him 4 stars and put him at the top of the transfer portal rankings? It's the dumbest thing I ever seen. This is the dumbest shit I've ever seen. They made him a 9.4 and the number 1 wide receiver in the portal. That's ridiculous, guys. There's nothing number 1 about this dude. He's not even the number 1 guy on his own team. That's fucking laughable. This was a 3-star kid coming out of high school ranked in the top 500, tops. Jake Johnson, him and his brother, he's going to be at North Carolina playing with his brother. I already announced this weeks ago, like a month ago. Kobe Young talked about him. Think he's good. Julian Fleming's good. Chris Brazell. So Chris Brazell, 3'6", 6'5", had a couple of great deep touchdowns while there was injuries to the wide receiver position for Tulane. He became the guy that Pratt could just throw it up to and he'd make it count. My problem with him is, he's got the Randy Moss deep threat on the fade, but I have seen no other routes from this man. I really haven't. Nothing that moves the meter for me. I like him. I think he's a good player. I'd imagine A&M should be really interested in him. They need all the wide receiver help they can get. That looks like a guy they should be interested in. I just hope he doesn't go the Ole Miss route, because then we won't see him get any receptions whatsoever. Obviously, I'm really intrigued by Mikey Matthews being in the portal. I'd imagine it had to be a frustrating year this year not having good quarterback play. That's all that I can think of. Also, living in Utah is a lot different than Mission Viejo, California. So he jumps in made a video on it. There's Kelly Ackerley or whatever his name is. This guy right here is the only bright spot at receiver for UTEP. He had a 200-something yard game one night at our expense. So Kelly has a good frame, big kid, can get open, dominate games, very good player. I'll get into all these guys soon enough. I know Sheffield's been the second best receiver at Purdue for a while. Let me see here. A lot of these names, people know them or don't know them. It's not the end of the world. I'm more interested in some other things. They repeat the names. That's cool. Let me see if I see anybody else that I want to talk about. Once again, during my episodes, I talk about 25 to 30 guys. I'll come back and touch on these guys in future episodes, especially once they start committing. Let's see here. Yeah, there's a big one for me. I don't understand why he's so low. Corey Dykes should be probably the number 1 tight end in the portal. This is the number 1 tight end in the portal. Talent-wise, I think he should be at Ohio State starting. I don't know where he's going. This is the best tight end in the portal. There you go. We'll see where he ends up. Corey Dykes is a great tight end. See what happens. That's a big one for me. So anyways, love Chris Brazell, by the way. I'm saying on YouTube, got it. Something jumped on me. Chat jumped on me. I apologize. Colorado looking nice. I'm not sure what the circumstances are around Mikey Matthews' transfer, but as someone who watched him live against Colorado, wish nothing but the best for him. What are your thoughts on your man? So Robert Lopez, if you watched, I did a video on him a long time ago, coming out of high school. I think he's a great player. I think he's a stud. So I'm not too sure about anything else as well. People need to listen to what you say more. Alex, they think they do, and then they don't listen or they don't watch. What do you think Penn State should target in the portal? I don't ever do assessments like that, Carter Jamison. I assess results. I don't say what team should be doing in the portal. I don't work for the teams, so I wouldn't say that stuff. I just assess results. I don't know if I'm a prophet, but thank you for being here. Have I spoken on Donovan McMully? I'm huge that IU kept him. Yeah, so I saw him jump in the portal and then go back. I would say it's a big deal for a new head coach to come in, find out his players are in the portal, and he somehow convinces them to come back and give him a shot. That's the bigger win there, right? When you have a new head coach and he can grab those old players and say, hey, man, don't go anywhere. I got you. Let's give this another shot. So I like that. But, yeah, that's the only time. And because I'm only talking about transfer portal players, once I saw him pull back out of the portal, I didn't do a video on it. I was impressed with what they're doing there from a coaching perspective, but I didn't do a video on it. LSU's game plan has been to recruit Louisiana players from the portal. Do you think it's a good strategy? Yeah, you got to win your state, man. You got to win your state as long as they're better players than what you have on your team. I think it's a good strategy to get players that are better than the ones on your team. Deshawn Hanika, thoughts? Rewind the show. Thoughts on Malachi Nelson? He's a bench warmer, dude. What do you want me to talk about? What's up with Jack Beck? I don't know. He's at TCU, right? I don't know. He transferred last year. I don't know what to say. Did you see Wesley Grimes? I did not see him. I've been at home all day. Oklahoma State versus A&M. I don't know what that means. Not a wide receiver, but what are your thoughts on Tyler Van Dyke? Go watch the quarterback episode. I have the quarterback live stream here on YouTube. Go watch it. Oklahoma State versus Texas A&M. I don't know what you're saying. Is Holden Staes going to make an impact? Is he going to make an impact? I don't think it makes a difference. Like, impact to what? The win column? For what games is he going to win? What games were they going to lose, and now that they got him, they're going to win? Can't think of any. Is he an improvement at the tight end position for Tennessee? Maybe. But I don't – you get what I'm saying? I look at impact differently from you guys. Daquan Finn to Baylor. Why are you guys asking me questions? I don't understand that. All right, Casey, you just got muted forever. We don't do that here, bro. Not a wide receiver, but what are your thoughts on Tyler Van Dyke? Go watch the quarterback show. Jamal Banks is an animal. There you go. He's an animal. He's a human. Luke McCaffrey needs to be in the portal. I don't know who needs to be in the portal, man. I just report who's in it. I assess where people sign. I don't think players need to be in the portal anywhere unless they're being abused. Thoughts on Dylan Raiola? I have no thoughts on Dylan Raiola. Okay, rewind the show. Did I watch Demir Miller from Monmouth? Yes, I talked about him. Rewind the show. No real thoughts on players transferring. I give more thought on when players commit as opposed to transferring. I don't give a shit that players are transferring, guys. I talk about when they commit and where they're committed to. Please understand the difference. We lost two of our guys. I don't know who we is, Luke Horton. Doesn't mean anything to me. We. Are you fucking French? Are we French? Why are we saying we everywhere? All right, y'all. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. I hope you learned something about the wide receivers and tight ends in the transfer portal. Remember, your friends don't know, but Rico knows. And if you're going to watch these shows, you got to show up and only talk about the topic at hand. And the people who are negative and think I don't read their comments, we get to them eventually. They just don't understand the format of the show. Thank you for being here. Peace.